What's up, everyone, and welcome to the Pickup Line, where we talk dating, relationships, and sex very candidly. I'm one of your hosts, Ethan, and alongside me is...
Hi, I'm Hannah Vaughn.
What's up, dude?
Hey, happy Thursday. Welcome back,
Happy
everybody.
Thursday.
Seeing some friendly people, friendly returnees in the comments. Nice to see you. Today we're going to talk about long-term relationships and how to cope with that and how to recover from that and moving forward, what to do when you've been in a long-term relationship and it ends, whether it be mutually or not, what to do and what not to do. If you want to call in and talk about that or anything else regarding dating, sex, relationships, love, loneliness, you can call the number on our screen, 951-364-2430. We'd love to hear from you.
And I don't want to say your name wrong, so I'll just say INES. Is it? Yeah, if you could tell me how to pronounce it. But they said my favorite chat people, YFNA chats. That makes me happy because honestly, I do strive to keep the chats as friendly as possible. Like, to me, friendliness and politeness in many ways can be contagious because it's hard to be a dick to people who are all being nice to you, at least in my experience.
Yeah.
And I prefer, in most cases, the friendly approach. But it's really cool seeing this show grow and seeing more people tuning in every week. Like, that means a lot because there are so many other great channels out there and they're watching our show, Hannah. So that's friggin' awesome.
You could be anywhere tonight. Thanks for being, well, you can be anywhere tonight while watching this. That's the lovely thing about the internet. But thank you for tuning in. And those who do every week, thank you. Thank you.
Hell yeah.
Yeah.
So long-term relationships. Hannah, what was your longest one? I have a feeling because of my old age, I might have you beat on this one.
Probably. I was never married, so... but 4 years is the answer to that question. My first real relationship was a year and a half. So that was pretty long for like a 14-year-old. And then I had like a 2-year relationship and then a 3-year and then a 4-year. And all ended so differently. So this is interesting. So I don't know if everyone would consider those long-term, but at the times of my life, they did feel like those were like, I've had like 4 long-term relationships, like real partners that it wasn't like just a fling that like came and went, you know?
A year and a half long relationship when you're 14 is like 10 years. Like, that is a long time. Like, my relationships in high school lasted, my buddy always made fun of me for 2 weeks because 2 weeks for me was just too long. It was like an eternity. I'd be like, yeah, okay, I jumped into this. I'm not ready. And that's, in my old age, why I've become more careful before I jump into things, because I want to make sure I get to know someone, particularly because obviously the marriage failed. So I need to make smarter decisions in the future. But I was with my first longest relationship, Hannah, was 6 months. And then after that, it was 12 years. So yes. And it was a absolute roller coaster ride. Like, when I think of the beginning of the relationship towards the end, just how we grew and changed as people is pretty wild, because when we both got together, in many ways, we were both very immature and childish. I'm still childish now, but it's, I don't know, we grew together and then we like grew apart. Is that the best? I don't know the best way to describe it, but I want to give feedback, but I want to be careful how I give feedback to people, because to be very clear, I'm one of the lucky ones. I ended it with somebody who is an awesome person. So I don't have any type of toxic behavior that I have to like hide from or contend with. Granted, when we first ended it, I mean, we were going at it. We had contemplated deleting each other off social media. Like, we're like, do we do it? And it was like this 3-month period where we were kind of like, what's going to happen? Are we going to was we had talked about just cutting off and going our own separate ways. And then eventually we're both like, dude, we're each other's best friends. We can't do that. We have to stay friends. She is, people say, to quote her, actually, I would rather, when it comes to friends, I would rather have 4 quarters than 100 pennies. And she is very much one of my quarters.
That's wonderful.
So
I love sorry, go ahead.
No, so I can't necessarily give advice when it comes to toxic relationships because I've only had one, but that was easy. Like for me, we just cut it off. So that worked out.
Yeah, no, it really depends on like it's so hard to talk about what to do and what not to do when it comes to things like this because every situation is so unique. But I think what can apply to all of them, as I was telling you before we got started, figuring out what you need to do to take care of yourself to get through it and what you need to do to make sure that you are behaving fairly and appropriately to the situation. I mean, some people are terrible and I don't know what I was just about to like speak totally my mind just now. Like, some people are terrible and deserve terrible things to happen to them, but that doesn't mean you need to inflict them. We talked about revenge on one of like maybe last week.
Yeah, I don't do revenge. Like,
yeah.
To give an example, there was one person I was seeing, and when we like ended it, she's like, "Hey, would you mind like I have," or how did she word it? She goes, I have your word that you're not going to show off any of my photos, right?" And my response was, "What kind of men are you used to dating, dude? Like, why on earth would I do that?"
You'd be surprised what a very, very common thing that is.
And it's
incredibly common.
Like, dude, like, why would people violate each other like that? Like, I don't care. And how I answered her was, look, I don't care how badly. If right now you screwed me over, did anything you could to hurt me, that doesn't make it okay for me to go do something to you. I'm not a revenge person. And for me, it shows more about my character by not doing something than versus doing something. And
well, it's like, who does it benefit? You know what I mean? Like, great, they got what was coming to them, but it's like, why? Like, you're honestly just wasting more energy on someone that doesn't deserve an ounce of it at all. So the best thing you can do for yourself is to just focus on moving forward. And I have not always been the best at that. I understand that it's really hard. So, like I said, every situation's different. I'm not saying when you end a long-term relationship, you need to delete that person off of social media because in many cases, there are not the type of person that's going to just cause you pain every time you see them. I mean, if you need to take a break from seeing them on social media, yeah, that's fine. Add them back when you're ready. I think even Facebook has a feature where you can take a break from seeing someone's content because it will just hurt you to see things.
Right.
Yeah, exactly. So I mean, who just said in the chat, stop the cycle of hurt? That's basically all you need to really do. I think that's just the kind of rule of thumb that can apply to all the long-term relationships is just do what you need to do to, you're allowed to hurt, you're allowed to grieve, feel your feelings, and then appropriately move forward.
Well, and I think the way secular warriors says stop the cycle hurt, I think that's important because when my former partner and I initially broke up, we were a little finicky with each other. And had we taken that mentality of like, I'm going to be petty, all it does is make the situation worse because one person gets petty, another person gets more petty. It keeps getting worse and worse every time. So for us, it's just like, whatever, dude. Like, we fought over the TV and a seasoning. That was what the ending of our marriage was over. So it's like, I don't know. To me, and that's the other thing I don't understand why people will. And perhaps sorry, I should say, yes, I do have a unique view. I don't care about material belongings. So the way I look at it as something's fine. I I don't care like how much I could lose or would lose. Yes, I don't want to lose anything, but I can get that shit back. I can rebuy those things. What I can't get back is the time wasted arguing over stupid shit. That's gone, man. Like, we only get one life, one chance. I'm not going to waste it because I can't get more time back. I've already lost a lot of it. It's valuable to me.
Yeah. Not to be like a person that's like, "Ugh, Ethan, you don't understand how privileged you are because I went through something different." But my view is a little bit different than yours. Like I'm not materialistic, but I have gone through periods of life where I've gone without certain things. So I need my stuff back, depending on how important it is. I mean, if it was like a TV, I'd be like, fuck it. Unless it was a really nice TV. But like my clothes and stuff, like I'm not a hoarder, but I don't really grow. So I'm like,
Okay.
I'm a little bit of a collector of clothes.
Same. And I'm not advocating for just saying like, oh, whatever, take the stuff.
No, I know,
Try to
but
get
like
your stuff back, of
you would
course.
rather just get out of there than like dwell on like when am I gonna get my stuff and do the back and forth and have to see
Right.
them. And yeah.
So first steps of I think, after ending it is the most important thing to do, whether you're on civil terms or not civil terms, is take a break because it's during that period that it's very easy for you to start fighting with each other. You start picking out all those little things that annoy you are going to bother you right then and there. And that's why I think it's very important to step away for a little while. If you do need to discuss some things, give it a week if you can, give it a few weeks if you can, give time for everyone to cool down a little bit and gain their rationality back so they aren't necessarily as emotional. And then, try,
Really quick, can I like just hop in really quick before
please.
you go to like anything next? Because yes. Also, not because you're going to start fighting with them, that could be one reason, but because when you're with someone for a long time, they oftentimes can be the person you go to for comfort, which can be terrifying to let go of. So
Yes.
so it's very important to, and I think something you were about to bring up is to find other sources of comfort, so you don't, like, for lack of better words, relapse or just go back into the old ways, old habits
Right.
of leaning on them for comfort, because that's not what's going to help you move forward. So it's not even just necessarily like, yeah, you need to cool down so you can regain that rationality, but also you need to cool down from, you need to allow yourself to miss them and not die. I don't know if that makes sense, but when you miss someone that much, when you've been with them for so long and they've been your person, it feels like you're going to die.
Yes.
Hmm.
You're this, oh my God, like it's it's like a piece of you is missing.
Hmm.
You're walking around and I've never walked around without an arm before, but that's what it feels like. You're like walking aimlessly. You're like, dude, something's missing, something's missing. There's just this piece of you that's no longer there because when you become partners, you become literally partners and they become, a part of every aspect of your life. And good
Hmm.
relationships, you lean on each other when you're at the worst. And that for me was one of the scariest parts because I was like, during this time I had closed off the outside world. I was in like, sorry, prior to the breakup, I had closed off the outside world because of my depression and epilepsy. So she was literally like my center. So that was terrifying. I'm like, dude, what? Like, this is going to be so weird, man. Like, but
Hmm.
I couldn't let that fear of being alone or fear of being without her let that prevent me from making what was a smart choice.
Yes, absolutely. I'm getting kind of like I haven't hurt over my last long-term relationship in a while because we're still friends, but like remembering what it felt like to feel like you were dying from heartbreak, like I felt a little choked up just now.
Um,
Like
it's
it
it's
really hurts. You
I
feel like
I'm
you're gonna fucking die. and you aren't gonna die, but you need to allow yourself to feel like you're gonna fucking die and then not die, and then you'll be okay.
I mean, that really is actually a great way to put it. Because I mean, for me, when I was driving to my new place, it was just me and my cat in my car, and I'm just in the car, bawling my eyes out, looking at my cat like that's all I have. I have my Bandaid. I'm just completely destroyed because my entire life really, and I'm bad with change, as I've expressed in the past. So
Yeah.
it was so difficult for me. I felt like I was in a daze for weeks on end. And you know, my brother and my nephew were incredibly supportive, but it was difficult. And it's important to take that time to heal.
Mhm.
Totally
I feel like
forgot where I was going with
no,
that
no, no,
next.
I feel like you were
Oh,
about to move on to, like, point number 2, but I was
yes.
like, "No, no, no, wait."
So in addition to taking time to breathe, I think sometimes it can also be smart to distance yourself on social media, as you know, Hannah said, like taking a break. And this means not checking their Instagram every day, not checking their Twitter, because it can hurt. And sometimes the best thing you can do for yourself is to not watch everything they're doing, because it can make your
Yeah.
healing process more difficult. And you really do want to allow yourself time to grieve, like feel the pain, as Hannah specified earlier, like you know, that death you're feeling. I don't want to say embrace it, but you've got to you've got to feel it. You've got to get it out in order to move past it.
Yeah. No, the thing about checking up on someone on social media is something that I really, really struggled with, because when you feel so helpless and you don't I don't know, I feel like it's a way of trying to, at least for me, like a way of trying to hold on to some kind of control. Like if I just know what they're doing, maybe I'll feel better. But that's just that's silly. You don't have control over what they do. And whether or not you like what you're going to see, it's not going to change anything. I mean, maybe you can see, haha, they haven't moved on. And then you feel like your bad self, you know,
Right.
but where you see that they have, or what you're doing, you see something that upsets you, and that's just going to reopen the wound. And you don't want to do that.
Right.
It's really, really hard, but you have to know yourself and know what you can handle. And like, ask yourself, if I see something I don't like, is that going to set me back? And you have to really, really try to not act on that urge to I just want to see what they're doing. You can't. You really can't. It's never helped me. Even if I see that they haven't moved on, I'm like, haha, but then I'm still wondering, maybe they're just not posting it. So it doesn't help. You don't have control over anything.
You're just sitting there wondering. And then when you do see them do something that like makes them happy, it makes it even harder. Or if you see them with, you know, other people that might be interested in them, that just like tears you apart. So it's
Mhm,
really good to try and silence that social media.
mhm.
Real quick, to the Facebook user that said nothing good comes from stalking your exes ever. I agree. If you're watching this on Facebook, if you want your comments to show up on the screen, go to streamyard.com/Facebook. There's a link in the description to give permission, and that way we can see what your name is when you comment.
Yeah, also, and if
I
you're my ex watching this right now, this isn't gonna help you. You're not gonna feel better. No. I adore most of my exes, actually.
Same. We've gotten into it before. I'm pretty
Yeah.
cool with nearly all of my exes.
Yeah.
Chianti and Fava Bean says, YFNA. I think most people have cheated, if not physically, then emotionally. Not to the extent I have. I was regularly cheating many years ago on a repeated douchebaggery basis.
Fuck you.
Absolutely. No, I was a
I'm
total
glad you
douche.
can just, you know.
Well, and that's why whenever I see like lines like cheaters don't change, it's like,
But they super do.
they
They
do, because
super do.
honestly, it was doing that and
We're not talking about cheating today.
we're not. Well, sorry. Let me just wrap this up. It was that doing that, and seeing how it affected her and seeing the look in her face, that changed it to the point that like my brain doesn't operate like that anymore. So
that's fantastic.
yeah,
You can change. People have to want to change, you know.
yeah.
Fortunate, we can get into that another time. Yeah, good.
So
Good.
I think the next step with a breakup is lean on the people close to you, the people that were there for you or are there for you now. Reach out to them, let them know how you're feeling, get it off your chest, talk to them, cry, scream, do what you have to do. Sometimes it's really good to not only have someone to lean on, but to get somebody else's perspective. Especially, I think the most important thing, I shouldn't say the most important thing, but I think who you surround yourself is crucial in that point, because a lot of times like they'll just want to like dog or rip your ex apart and say how horrible they were, and it's like that doesn't really accomplish everything. Like let's
No.
talk about how the relationship was realistically. And like I said, if you have to cry to someone, cry, get it out, all out, feel it. um, don't let yourself go through this alone unless that's your preferred method of dealing with things.
Yeah, I mean, that's true. Can't relate to well, I do kind of suffer in silence a little bit, and Thomas would probably laugh at that because I'm also kind of a whiner. But when something
I
like
could see
really
that.
yeah, I'm a little fucking baby. But no, like sometimes I'm sure that you feel the same way. I feel like we've probably talked about this before. I feel guilty leaning on people sometimes. Something I've gotten better at because I'm like, oh wait, people care about me, and I do, but I used to not. Um, Going back to what you said about choosing the right people to lean on, I guess this is kind of advice for someone who's being leaned on. When you know someone who has gotten out of a long-term relationship, they don't want to hear about how stupid that well, sometimes it feels really good. You're like, yeah, that fucking person sucked over a couple drinks, whatever. But um what's most helpful is to just listen. Sometimes bashing the person and being like, I never liked them anyway, sometimes that's not really helpful.
Right.
Because in that moment, sometimes all you want is that person back. And so I
And
don't know, it doesn't really, it's not really effective.
no,
You
and
know,
you
if
can
they
really,
start if they start bashing their ex and they're having laughs over, you know, roast time, that can be a really nice part of the healing process. But don't do it unless you really gauge if the person's ready. If they're not bashing their ex, don't start doing it for them. You know, wait till they're ready, because or especially early on, they're probably just really missing that person. So, and all they really need is someone who will listen to how much they're hurting.
exactly. And I think also I I actually get overly frustrated with how bad sometimes people are at advice. And maybe like just because too often I see this, and not just like our circle in the like religious circle, but people want to give you advice based on their beliefs rather than trying to give you advice based off how you feel and your own beliefs. Like in that moment, it doesn't matter how much you hate the ex. It's about the person you're comforting. So they, as Hannah said, you don't need to sit there and bash them unless that's what they want. Find out if you're the person that is being leaned on. Do what you can to make them feel better. Don't make it about yourself or how you felt.
Right. Unless it's just like over a couple drinks when they're finally like laughing about like how much
Yeah.
they sucked, because that can be wonderful. But it takes time. So
I would say the next important thing is because there's this what I call the danger period. This is when after like you're through that like part where you hate them, the human brain starts glorifying all the good times and forgetting the bad times. And no matter how horrible the relationship was, that's when there's this period where that balance shifts and you're just like you start focusing on all the good. And then you're like, no, 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 this was a good relationship. I need to go back to him.
yeah, maybe
That's
it wasn't so bad.
right. It couldn't have been so, he did this or she did this. Who cares? Like they did all these other things. Like, no, that's unfortunately like we're always doing that. And I forgot what it's called. It would have helped.
Nostalgia,
I don't know if it's nostalgia.
reminiscing.
Anyways,
I don't know.
like
No,
during that period, be strong. Don't let your emotions deceive you into just jumping back into the relationship.
yeah.
Unless, of course, you two were actually happy together and this was just some kind of break. But make sure you remember the bad.
Yeah, no, be realistic. As Melissa says, my best friend who y'all got to meet a couple episodes back. What did she say? Nostalgia is a lying dirty bitch. She always
Ooh, I
tells
like
me that.
that.
Yeah, she
Nostalgia
always
is a
tells me because I tend to romanticize things. Is that what you were going to say? Romanticize? Is that the word?
romanticize. There we go.
Ah,
Thank you.
no, I tend to like romanticize and put on pedestals and be like, oh, I was so, that guy was the love of my life. And she was like, Hannah, you say that about every single person. You can have multiple.
So Secular Rarity says, how do you get better at reaching out to friends when you are sad, hurt about relationships, especially as a manly man? I like that.
Go for it, Ethan.
Okay, so as much as I want to advise people to reach out, that's not always something I do. Like for me, I'm not very trusting for one. And reaching out to people is not something I necessarily like doing primarily because I don't trust people. Like there's just been too many people that have violated that trust or held things over my head, things I've told them. So I'm just less willing to share. But also, oh crap, what was it? Just left my brain. I hate when that happens, Hannah.
I'm sorry. I could like just, I would love to just reach in your brain and figure out what you meant, but if I
Right.
start talking, I'll take it in a different direction. So, manly man.
I would say it is important to try to, I'm trying to think of how to address this.
No worries. Do you want to come back to it?
No, I want to remember what it was. That's going to drive me nuts. Like it was right there. I would say, oh, that's what I was going to say. Okay. So people tell me that my laugh or energy is contagious. Well, if that is contagious, the thought in my head is, what if my anxiety or depression is contagious too? And for that alone, I tend to try and isolate. Granted, there are some people I confide in, but it terrifies me that I could bring somebody else down. So I don't want to do that. But I would say it is important to find ways to reach out to people. I wish I had a better answer, but I don't because I'm not very good at it.
I mean, that was pretty
Especially
honest.
with like the gender constructs, that have always been around and telling men they can't open up, they can't have emotions. Even now today, we still get those stupid memes of remember manly men back in the day. Like, give me a break. You mean all those ones that probably had a psychiatric breakdown, like because they were told they
Yeah.
weren't allowed to have
They didn't have an
feelings?
outlet. Yeah. No, I mean, it's important to have even just one person. I mean, I also want to be a little bit wary of advising that because you don't want to lean on one person too much and make them the source of your happiness and overwhelm them. I have the luxury of growing up in this world as a woman and being allowed to fucking ugly cry in front of people I don't know that well and everyone coming to my rescue. So, you know, the only thing I could think of to maybe suggest, by the way, if you're like a self-identified manly man or know like have like a really good piece of advice for this specific question, which was like how do you reach out to people as a man when you're going through shit, please call in because I don't know how to answer this question. I don't have that experience. But something that I have done when I felt like I had nobody was reach out to, we live in a great day and age where you can do this, is just to like go on online forums and anonymously talk to people or read articles of people going through the same thing. Chats and forums and Reddit's a wonderful outlet just to vent your feelings. And, you know, it's always amazing to see how many people relate to you. The only thing that's a little tricky about the internet is you get a lot of people who hide behind the keyboard and say really awful shit that could make you feel worse. So
Yes.
maybe just disregard that entirely. But I mean, I feel like you'll find a couple of like gems in there of like people that you can really, you know, it just feels good to be heard and to get it out and to realize you're not alone. So it could be worth it. I don't know.
And try to put yourself around like some positive, uplifting people. People that are going to try and lift you up or make you smile, as opposed to people that are just going to like bring you down. Like the last thing you need when you're going through this type of crisis is feeling lower than you already feel, because
Yeah.
to be clear, it can feel like your world is over. Like your life was going one way, and then it's like, nope, it's not going that direction. And you had everything planned out, and then it's all gone. So you can feel lost, alone. You can one of the biggest things you can feel like is a total failure. And just because your relationship didn't work doesn't mean you're a failure. You're not. Sometimes they don't pan out the way we expect them, and sometimes better things come along. You never know.
Yeah.
Like I've been fortunate. Like I've gotten to start living my life again, something I didn't think I would get to do, and it's been really nice. It's
Yeah.
to anyone watching it. It may be horrible at first, but I promise you, and I know people always say this, but it is true. It will get better. Don't give up.
And then it will get worse, but then it will get better again.
It comes in waves. Like,
That's life,
okay,
man.
here, it's been well over a year. It's been like a year and a half. And there are still times that I'm just like, oh my God, I look around, I'm like, wait, is this really my life right now? Like this, like
It was
what?
really that recent? I'm sorry. I didn't realize. I don't know why I always like assume that was so long ago.
No, it feels so long ago because I mean, even thinking about the past year of my life has been absolutely bonkers. I mean, just a year and like 2 months ago, I was begging. I couldn't find anybody to talk to me on camera. I was begging everybody and nobody. I couldn't find Christians, atheists. Nobody wanted to talk to me. And then Larry the Christian finally agreed. And then a couple more people agreed. And then before I know it, now I'm talking to like everybody in the community, and people are messaging me and want to talk to me. And it's like, I still am surprised by that. I'm like, wait, you want to talk to me? Like,
Who, me?
yeah, like really? Like Hannah, I still don't view myself as an atheist YouTuber. Like when people mention atheist YouTubers, I don't think of me. And when I see people in other groups tag me, I'm like, why are they tagging me? I'm not like,
Got that imposter syndrome going on.
yes. It's like, wait, like, why don't you tag one of the professional atheists?
Yeah.
I don't know what I'm doing.
Oh my God.
Um,
No, I feel it. I mean, yeah, I get that about. I've always gotten that about like my professional life. I'm just like, I was selling insurance at one point. I was wearing a fucking suit, and I was like, I'm a fucking child. Don't listen to me. No, it's tricky. Learning how to be alone was like one of the most valuable lessons of my life. Because I mean, since puberty, ever since puberty, everybody stares at me. No, sorry, that's a song. No, I was like in a relationship. I like always had a partner like since like puberty. So like I've been lucky, but also I realized after like I take like a couple months to myself, but like not even like a month in between, and then like get in another relationship. And after my 4-year relationship ended, I was like, okay, I need to literally be alone. And in one day, I just moved out all my shit, moved back in with my parents, and then found a cottage to live in by myself. And
Ooh.
I was living in I was sleeping practically in a closet, because it was like somewhere from, this might be a big range, but 400 to 600 square feet. It was really small, but it was not always some of the happiest times of my life, but some of the happiest times of my life, because learning how to be alone was really dope. Like, oh, I don't need anyone to be happy. I mean, I still have very weird depression, so that was weird. I realized being completely alone maybe not the best for me, because then I'll start to kind of spiral. But also that I didn't need to depend on anyone to like feel okay. You know, it's nice to be held accountable by roommates and shit. Otherwise, like, I live like a crazy person. I shouldn't have said that.
Ooh,
But
no, occasionally, like, I'll say that too, and I'll have to correct myself.
yeah, I'm sorry, but it's just I don't know how else to say it. It was just like my mom would like show up, be like, "I brought you something." She'd walk in my house, and then she'd just like do a 360 and be like, "Not a good time, apparently." I'd just be like, "The house is a fucking mess," and I'm like, "I haven't slept in 3 days." Like, I don't know.
Do you get really wild and like is neurotic a bad term to use?
I don't know. I don't know what it is. I have rough periods every now and then. And when I'm by myself, I don't really, it's like, I don't know, my executive functioning just kind of goes downhill. And I'm like, I don't need to shower. I don't need to do dishes. I'm not going to do laundry. I'm depressed. And so
It's so hard to do stuff when you're depressed.
And when you live alone, you don't feel like the shame of like, oh, I should pick up because I'm inconveniencing other people. So that's where it's different. Like, you know, I learned how to not depend on other people for my happiness, but also like it was a weird trade-off. Like, you should probably take care of yourself, Hannah, a little more, a little better. But that's just my experience as a fucking crazy person. I can say it.
Well, that's where I think self-care is important. You have to take care of yourself, break up, on one end, yeah, it's good to kind of just sit in your pajamas for days and just soak it in and like deal with it. But then sometimes you need to, shower on, do your hair, do your makeup. I'm not telling people they need to do their makeup. I'm just saying sometimes like
But like
getting
feel yourself, get
yes, you can
ready,
feel
even if you
good.
have nowhere to go, and do your fucking laundry.
Yeah, do your laundry, take a shower. Basic needs, basic tasks are important. Eat, 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 eat. Don't forget to eat, because when you don't take care of your physical health, particularly eating, your mental health suffers more. And that creates an endless cycle because and you're not eating, you're mentally feeling worse. You're already feeling mentally bad. Then you eat even less, and then you feel even worse. It's just this never-ending cycle.
And
We did,
honestly, something I did need to learn is that it's okay to reach out to people when I'm feeling that disgusting, because I felt really embarrassed. But no one who truly loves me has ever judged me for it. They judge me. They're like, Hannah, you're disgusting. But they're there to help, and they still love me despite the fact that I have been like a total nutter butter, who like had stacks of pizza boxes and beer cans everywhere and piles of laundry and like hadn't showered in 4 days,
what?
I'm being generous. 4 days is not like a week. I'm just saying I've been there, and you shouldn't be ashamed to talk about it. You should be ashamed if you're not making a change. You shouldn't even, because like, honestly, I understand how fucking hard it is to live with mental problems, like it's fucking hard. Don't be embarrassed. Don't tell everyone like, hey, I haven't showered in a week. But people who love you, if you tell them that, they're going to be like, oh my God, let me bring you some lunch, and you will feel better because they love you.
So, yeah, and that's another thing. If you're one of the if your friend is going through this, ask them what they need. Maybe if they like surprises, surprise them with some food, or be like, hey, we're going out for guys' night or girls' night. Some people
Or them's night.
yeah. Thank you. Them's night. See, I'm still learning. So thank you.
No, it's okay.
That's a good catch. But maybe like, I don't know. I guess I'm on the fence. Some people like going to strip clubs, some people don't, obviously pending COVID safety. But
I can't wait.
okay, so there was a period where I wanted to try being like a private party stripper. But I was like, I don't have like, I used to be bigger in stature when I was doing competitive strongman, but I was never really like cut like type. So I was like, yeah, I need to get like a six pack before I could do something like that. And I should
Everybody's got a type.
probably learn to dance first too, because it's just like, white boy stuff.
Everybody's got a type, man. Don't trip.
This is true.
I would
We'll
love
get to our callers in just a moment, but if you want to offer your feedback on what you think are some important steps or tools to get out of a long-term relationship, please feel free to call us. Epuxtomology says, reminder to talk about how to deal with a partner that is recovering from a long-term relationship.
I have no idea. That's always been something that I don't get into, because
What do
I'm
you mean?
like, if someone is like, I'm not, if okay, this might be different for poly people, but as someone who's been pretty much monogamous, pretty much most of my life, if someone is still grieving a relationship, like actively, I give them more time before I enter a relationship with them. So I can't really
Yeah,
speak
that's
on that.
probably a smart choice.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know. I've never been in a position where I'm like, I am actively seeing someone who's like grieving someone else, like other than like a death. But
Well, yeah. All right. So before we get to our caller, I think we need to answer this very important question.
I think about
What
this all
would
the time because I absolutely wish I could be a stripper, and Thomas won't let me. Just kidding. That's not true.
what would my stripper name be? I'm curious. I don't know. We'll just stick with Ethan.
I'm Ethan.
No.
That was my impression of you, like introducing yourself as a stripper. Hey, what's up? I'm Ethan. You want me to grind on you?
Well, okay, so because I was a DJ for many years, people actually just called me DJ because I never had a fancy DJ name because I thought they were stupid. Like, people would come up with like these DJ Water Faucet, Tsunami, and all this
Wait,
stuff.
DJ's a really cute name. So my half sister has a half brother named DJ, and I've always just thought that was such a cute name.
I mean, I got used to being called DJ for quite a long time.
You should just
In
be
fact,
DJ.
I had gone out with this one woman, and she's like, all right, I have a question for you. We hadn't seen each other in quite a long time. She's like, I've known you for 15 years. What's your real name? I was like, well, if you don't know it, I'm not going to say it.
It's DJ. Oh my god,
Yeah,
that's
as far as you're concerned.
DJ.
All right, let's get to our first caller. We have got one of our call screeners. Kaitlyn Beyond wants to talk about Puck's statement in the comments, dealing with someone who is in a long-term relationship. Kaitlyn, one of my favorite mods. You're on with Ethan and Hannah. How are you?
The floor is yours.
Hey guys. No, I wanted to make sure that, and it's funny because while I was on hold, I heard you, I guess, Puck tagged you again. But I was wanting to talk about the comment he made, on how do you deal with people who are like recovering from a long-term relationship. And I think in some ways it's important to know how to deal with that in a sense, even if it's not something you're going through right in the moment. Because like for instance, I didn't meet my boyfriend now until 6 months, somewhere around there. We were just dating for a couple months too. But I had a lot of mental stuff to deal with still. And I had already had to go through the finding myself and learning to be alone and getting my own shit together. And then meeting him, it was like that kind of brought up old emotions too. If that makes sense.
Yeah. Yeah, that really does.
I know that you what?
Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
Sorry, I the delay.
Yeah, sometimes there is, for
I
everyone
know.
watching right now, there
Me
is a
too.
split-second delay between the call and when it gets fed into StreamYard. So sometimes we occasionally talk over each other. We do try and avoid it as much as possible, but it happens.
Yeah, and then I also try to not like go on a long ass tangent either and let you guys talk. So, but there was a comment that whenever my boyfriend and we had been dating for maybe 2 or 3 months, probably about 2 months, because we weren't, official. Although we'll never be Facebook official because he doesn't do Facebook. But I made a comment to him about how I was, and trigger warning for some people, but I made a comment about how I was mentally abused in a relationship, and I was brushing it off in a sense. I said, I was mentally abused, but it wasn't physical. And he, like, I was continuing to explain, and he stopped me and he said, hold on, anything that affects your mental still affects your physical. And that just hit me in a whole different way. And
what do you mean by that?
being with someone who knows. Because like, so your mental, if you have a mental block or something that is affecting your mental health, it can also be affecting your physical health.
I think it's just it's just as important, like when people say like, oh, I was abused, but at least it wasn't physical. It's like, no, they're both terrible. They're both terrible.
Yeah. And that was his way of reassuring me in a sense.
Yeah, like don't downplay what happened to you.
Perhaps I know I've done this. I gatekeep the word love a little bit. And that's just because I view it like, okay, you can, of course, hurt somebody you love, but how anybody could lay their hands on another human being or make them feel like shit by mentally abuse them and then claim they love them is beyond me. And I don't understand how anybody could consider that love. Because like from my perspective, you do everything you can not to hurt that person and everything you can to make them feel better. You want to build up their self-esteem, build up their confidence, make them feel better about who they are, make them feel secure, like not engaging in petty bullshit or trying to say things to hurt somebody's feelings. Like that's what bullies do. That shit does not belong in a relationship. And I don't get how anybody who loves someone could ever do that to another person.
I could tell you.
And that's a lot of what I went through.
Yeah.
Is it
fucking terrible?
Okay, so here I do have a question. If I don't know if either of you could answer this. Oh, I'm sorry. Do you think somebody can abuse you and still love you?
I've abused someone that I love, so.
Like physically?
Yeah, I think
we're gonna have to go into that. We're to just do a whole segment on that, Ethan.
Next week? Yeah. All right. Kaitlyn, sorry, go ahead.
No, I mean, originally my first reaction to that would be no, but I know that there's things about love that I don't necessarily know, so I don't know for sure.
You can love someone
that you say.
I'm so sorry. I heard a break, and I want you to finish your thought. It's just the delay in this. I'm so sorry.
No, I know it is. That's why I try to stop also, but I wanted to say it's funny that Ethan says, he's like a gatekeeper for the word love. My boyfriend and I have been together a year and a half or so, and I told him I loved him after like a few months. And then for me though, I don't need him to tell me that he loves me. That's not what makes our relationship. Right. What I need from him is to continue the relationship that we have, the communication that we have. And if that time ever comes that he decides that he loves me and wants to tell me that, then that means so much more than the people who say I love you after an hour.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
If that makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah, I also don't get how people like can be with someone for like a week and be like, I love you. It's like, sorry, I don't think that's how love works. But again, this could be a scenario where I am once again gatekeeping the word love. I just don't see, like, to me, love is like there's so much to it. Like it's like you have to go through like fights and arguments and like
Not
tragic
necessarily.
circumstances. Like
I think you just
how do I like meaning like you have to
know the person. You can't
Yes.
just love the idea of them. No, that's right. But
you can't love the idea.
yeah. No, you brought up a really good point of like helping a partner through something, and knowing how. This kind of reminded me. I mean, I was like, I couldn't be with someone who was grieving over another person, like another relationship, and I realized that I've been that person. So I understand what someone can do for me, because literally in the current relationship that I'm in now, I mean, I'm getting pretty personal here. I had like a on and off romance long distance with someone for 6 years
Really?
that I never got closure from, and it will randomly hurt if I don't know, because when you don't have closure, it just kind of always floats around kind of. And so Thomas has been amazing at just being a good listener and understanding that it's completely separate of our relationship and it's just some weird, side story in my life that happened before I met him, and including I've gone through abuse myself. That affects our relationship, or affects my mental health. It therefore affects our relationship, not negatively, but it does come up. And it's okay to be in a relationship with someone who has a past.
Yeah.
We do have another caller, but oh wait, did they drop?
No, she's still here.
Oh no, the other caller dropped.
Oh.
Okay. Well, never mind. I was about to switch to that. Sorry. Go ahead.
Now you got more time.
No, I was gonna say I'll let you go, but okay.
No, thank you.
That's kind of the reason I wanted to call in the first place, was because of the relation to what Puck said, and not being on the side of it where I've had to be that person for someone, but knowing what it's like when someone's there for me. Because the same sort of situation, like you said, Hannah, like it's not feelings that I have for other people. It's feelings of the lack of closure, or the way I felt about myself in those moments and stuff like that still come up and will still happen. And in my past, it was talking about exes was off the table.
Yeah.
And in my relationship now, that's part of our relationship, is learning what made us who we are.
Yeah, it's part of your story, and it's part of your healing to talk about it if you need to. And I'm glad you have someone who helps you through that. That's wonderful.
It is. And I want to retract my statement earlier when I said you have to go through fights. That really wasn't like the best wording, I guess.
No, I know what you meant. Like, you
really
have to know someone.
Yeah, you have to get to know them in or out. You have to here's a better way to explain it. You have to learn their bad side, or their negative sides, their good sides, like everything about them before you can truly love them as a person. And I don't think that's possible in a week or a couple weeks.
Agree.
Like, to me, like, living with someone is a big step, because you can have a great relationship and then you can move in together and the relationship goes because that's when those you start to recognize those little annoying habits.
Oh yeah, that wish me luck, because we're moving in together in like a month now, and the first 2 relationships I was in where I lived with someone, it was after like a week or a month, and this time it's a year and a half, so I'm hoping it goes better. But it's a step, so I think we're doing things at the right pace for us is kind of where I leave on that. But
good. Well,
Yeah.
Wade, your boyfriend likes Bandaid, so he's okay in my book. Anyways, Kaitlyn,
definitely does.
thank you for calling in, and thank you for being one of the lovely moderators and call screeners who helps out the YFNA community all the time.
Of course. I will talk to y'all later.
All right. Talk to
Thank
you later.
you.
Bye.
Bye. Oh, we have a special caller in the queue.
Who is it?
Ooh, I'm going to grab this one right now. He's in the screening room, but I see the name. I'm not going to say it. I'll let him say it. You're on.
I already know who it is. I heard like him say one word. What do you want?
Holy Kool-Aid. You're on with Ethan and Hannah. Are you there? Where'd he go?
He could just come upstairs.
Wait. Oh, there we go. Wait, what's going on?
Babe, you can just come upstairs.
Okay, hang
if
on.
it's not
hang
working.
on,
Oh,
hang
did I
on.
hear him?
All right.
Hello?
There we go.
Hi.
Wow. What's up, dude?
Hey,
I'm embarrassed.
how's it going?
Good, yourself?
No, I heard your voice, and then all of a sudden I got put on hold twice.
Oops.
Yeah, I think it was the Q thing. I was trying to like click it and it disappeared. Anyways, dude, pleasure to have you on the show.
What do you want?
Yeah. No, it's-
Hey, be nice.
Uh-oh. No, I wanted to chime in real quick on the note of like abusive relationships, and like you had someone talking, or you guys kind of briefly brought up like physical abuse, and I wanted to say, for like a lot of times I notice that people will downplay emotional abuse. And they're like, oh, come on, how bad can it be? It's like, just leave, or just like, disagree with them or whatever, just stay calm. But like, when you're in a relationship with someone who is incredibly like controlling and manipulative or narcissistic or mentally ill, it can really, really weigh on you. And like, I don't in any way, shape, or form want to downplay the harm that comes about from physical abuse. And I realize like I'm in a very different position as a relatively, big guy, but like I've done MMA for years, and like I would rather get punched in the face like 100 times over than go through months of just the emotional terror of having someone that you love just emotionally torture and traumatize you. So, and I say that not to downplay physical abuse, but more to, to reassure people that if they're going through emotional abuse, like it's very real, it's very awful, and it can leave some huge lasting scars that take time to heal and recover from. And it's, I want to legitimize that for people.
No, absolutely. I think people should take emotional abuse more seriously. I mean, there were things said to me growing up and through past relationships that are they're just like permanently ingrained in your head. And then whenever anything like remotely touches on that insecurity or that issue, it's instantly like, oh my God, you get overcome with anxiety, and it can be really difficult to deal with.
Yeah. Well, and one of the things too that like I didn't necessarily know what an unhealthy or what a healthy relationship was supposed to look like until I got married. And it was so awful. But like I remember looking up on my phone, like Googling signs that you're in an emotionally abusive relationship. And I found a link that was like, it was like all the telltale signs that your wife is an emotional bully. And it was like, I thought maybe I think there were like 10 or 20 things on the list. And I thought maybe I would be like, maybe 2 for 10 or 3 for 10. Like I thought that was kind of a normal range or something. And it was like 10 out of 10 or like 20 out of 20. And then I started reading further, and it was like, and here's all the ways that it's going to emotionally, psychologically damage you for, permanently or for life or for years to come. And it was things like, you will develop severe anxiety. You will feel like you're walking on eggshells. You'll become hypervigilant about everything. You'll, develop PTSD and like trauma, and all of this different stuff, like, and it'll affect your ability to focus and your memory and your ability to have, clarity of thought. And it's like some of that is temporary, but I started realizing that, like, it does rewire your brain. Like, you are, especially like when you think of like things like adrenaline and stress, there's a great book called Why Zebras Don't Get Ulcers that talks about stress, but it is an actual physical, like your body is releasing adrenaline and, a bunch of other different chemicals like cortisol, and there's like a whole cocktail of chemicals in your brain. And when your brain is flooded with it and they're at like a super high level for a long period of time, it actually does rewire your brain. It can rewire and reshape your body physically at a physical level. And so, like, I think people don't necessarily realize the extent that the damage can, like, how long term and how, how there's actual physical damage that takes place in the brain as a result of it. But it's very real.
No, that's absolutely right. That's how PTSD happens, B.
Yeah. I don't want to monopolize all the time, but I just want to.
No, that is some fantastic insight. And also, it helps me make more sense of things and why I react the way I do to certain things, because clearly it's changed me more than I've realized.
Now, I don't want to leave it on a hopeless note, because like the beauty of the brain is that while it can be wired, and it can be damaged in that way, you also do have, and recent studies have shown that neuroplasticity lasts way longer into like adulthood than, people thought your brain would just grew in childhood and then stopped. But like, you can recover and rewire your brain, and there's all kinds of different therapies, exposure therapy and stuff that kind of can help you to overcome and heal from it. So it's not a hopeless thing either.
So believe it or not, the pickup line is actually my exposure therapy, because for me, I was, you don't talk about sex, you don't talk about your relationships. It's between what happens between you is between a man and a woman in the bedroom, all that crap. So like every time I'm on here, it's me like just trying to force myself to talk about things that I think are important. I mean, hell, it took me the first time Dr. Daryl Ray asked me to say masturbate. I sat there like for 10 seconds, like with a red face trying to say it, because it's,
I remember.
Yeah, it's like this incredible shame you feel when it comes to sex. And that to this day still impacts my sex life, because there are times I'm like, oh, nope, this is bad. Don't do it. Be ashamed of it. And it's really terrible, and how much mental abuse can really fuck up your life.
Yep.
Oh yeah. And I find that really refreshing how open you guys are. And I think that the world as a whole is slowly starting to open up more about sex and conversations about this stuff, and not just like abuse and like the Me Too movement, but like just not feeling so, like, it doesn't have to be like gross and in your face and like rude and like even like children are like exposed to stuff at a young age. Like, no, but like, I think having healthy conversations about sex and being able to like talk about anything in a way that is open and healthy and not like, kind of repulsed by anything sexual or suppressing any kind of things. I don't think that does anyone any help, but
no.
I agree.
Agreed. Holy Kool-Aid.
Keep up the good work.
Thank you. But where can everyone check you out at?
Like he needs that shit.
No, I'm not calling for that.
I
This
know.
is y'all's show.
All right. I know, but I still try and be courteous and let people promote themselves when they call.
Got a Holy Kool-Aid on the internet, and you'll find him.
Yeah.
It was nice talking to you, Thomas.
Yeah, it was good to be on. Thank you.
Thanks for
I love you.
Aww.
I love you too.
Okay, that was actually really, really cute.
Leave it to Thomas to just come on and be like, well, so in case you didn't know, cortisol to the brain. I'm like, I love that man so fucking much.
Dude, I'm telling you, if I was in a relationship with Thomas Westbrook, I would just have a recorder. I'd be like, can you just talk? And I'll just listen. I just want to hear everything, because he's so knowledgeable, man. Like, he's a great resource. And to be honest,
I'm on my period and I'm just so emotional. I'm like, I love him so much. Sorry, go ahead. I'm teary right now.
Thomas was a little intimidating for me to approach the first time because he's kind of like serious. So I was like,
no.
Well, that's what I thought. I'm like, he always has a serious face. So I'm like, hi, I'm Ethan. Like all nervous. I'm this new little YouTuber. But yeah, he's very, very bright dude. And I highly, highly recommend his channel. And Hannah's gushing.
I'm just so proud of him. And I'm so hormonal lately. I watched Hamilton last night and I cried so much that like my veins were popping out of my head. And Eric Murphy and Thomas Westbrook were next to me on the couch. And I was like, let's watch Hamilton. And Eric's like hugging a pillow, like, and I'm like, and Thomas is like, this is a good show. Wow. He's just the bubbliest guy. The bubbliest guy.
Like for me, I am so, because of how I was raised, opposed to crying. And yet, like, to me, like, you know, I don't believe this, but I feel this. Men don't cry. So, but I have actually cried on camera twice. And while I was doing it, I could feel the inner conservative Republican in me, like, don't be a man. What are you doing? Stop. Like,
hey, brother, are you crying over there?
Right. It's still, to me, and again, I don't think like this. I feel this. It feels like a weakness. And I'm not supposed to show that because people are going to perceive me differently, particularly like when you open up about these things. Oftentimes people on the right are just like, oh, you're triggered. You need to man up. It's like, dude, shut the fuck up.
No, everyone needs to just...
I'm admitting that something bothers me. It takes more courage to say, hey, look, these are some things that are affecting me. They're bothering me, than just putting it away and pretending it doesn't exist.
Or to be moved by something is just so beautiful. It feels so good to cry when you're just so moved that you cry.
It's like
the best feeling.
That's only happened to me once.
Okay, well then watch Hamilton, and then it will happen twice.
It won't happen with that. I doubt it.
You motherfucker!
It's a lot to move me. Can I, before we go, may I share that story?
Sure. And then you have to, if you share the story, will you watch Hamilton and then get back to me and tell me if you cried?
I will consider it. I'll consider watching it.
I'm going to make you watch it when you visit.
Well, right now, I'm on a Mighty Ducks kick. And Falcon and Winter Soldier. Dude, the new Mighty Ducks show, if you were a fan of the original Mighty Ducks movies, the shows capture the magic. It's really good. Like, Emilio Estevez utters the famous line from the first movie, I hate hockey and I don't like kids. Like, it's awesome.
And is that what made you cry?
Okay, I did cry at Mighty Ducks. That one scene was occasionally seen that would make me tear up a little bit when they win at the end and Charlie's with the flag. Like, the music is phenomenal. But anyways, the first thing that truly brought me like joy crying was, and this is going to sound a little cheesy, but understand, I used to compete many years ago when karaoke was popular. I know it's hard to believe, but in the Midwest, it was so popular that they would have championships. Like, I got an all expense paid trip to Florida to compete in the karaoke world championships. Anyways, that's not here. Yes.
Sign me up.
Yeah, it was so much fun. I got 6th place because I'm not a really good singer, but I can rap and I am a fucking entertainer. Like, that's the one area where I am overly confident in, is nobody can touch my stage presence. When I'm on stage, I own that shit and I know how to entertain the crowd. Like, anyways, that's not what I'm going into. My friend was having a rough go of it and he entered what was the biggest contest in the Midwest, and he qualified, there's so many rounds over 3 months. He gets to the finals and it comes down to the last 10. He's still not eliminated. And they're just calling names. And it's just him and the other guy, 1st and 2nd place. And then when they say the 2nd place guy's name and my buddy won 1st place, it was like, I was so happy that he won because it was something he really deserved, he earned, and he was going through a really rough time in his life. So when he won, I just
Aw.
started tearing up because it was like, oh my God, like this is awesome. Everyone rushed the stage, picked him up. The poor guy in second place pretty much got shoved off stage. He won a few
I bet
thousand.
he cried.
It was awesome, and it was a great moment, and that moment is instilled in my brain.
Aw. That's really sweet. That's a good story. Now watch Hamilton.
Thank you for listening to my story, Hannah.
No, that's beautiful. That is really beautiful. Was that Chianti and Fava Beans told the story about blasting Winner Takes It All and picking up their shit from their ex's house.
Mm-hmm.
That kind of gave me the same kind of feel. It's just like, that was like a movie. Fuck yeah.
So I was going to say, yes, we should tackle abuse next week, but I think it would be better if we tackled it when we had not a little bit more time and possibly someone like Dr. Daryl Ray that might be available, or somebody that can speak on it from, an educated standpoint.
No, I want to make sure that it's done correctly.
Right.
I mean, I can go more into this next time, but it's like, it's been a big point of shame in my life. Like it wasn't my shining moment. So, but at the same time, it's not something I want to hide from and pretend didn't happen. I would rather use it as an opportunity to be like, hey, this happens. And also, women can be abusive. So
that is true. And no, Huli Kool-Aid, you were totally fine. So
that's fine.
In terms of our callers can bring up anything they want. But yeah, so I was just saying that, I would like to actually do like a whole episode dedicated to abuse. I just want to make sure if we're doing an episode focused on it, that we tackle it in the most responsible way possible.
I agree.
Yeah. So Hannah, wait a second. This Saturday, what are you doing this Saturday?
7 p.m. Central Standard Time. I'm going to be on the Neil 604 Atheist show.
I thought you were going to sing it. You went from Yes. So
And
for
then
those who don't know, we're going to get to hear the Hannah Vaughn deconversion story on Neil 604 Atheist.
Which is going to be interesting because I had a blip of a religious face. So wasn't a whole lot of deconversion there.
Well, either way, if you want to see more of Hannah Vaughn, you'll get to see it this Saturday. Also, I would like to thank to the top tier patrons of this channel. One of these days, I'm actually going to keep that list up. The problem is the list updates often. So anyways, City Plaza, Kenneth Leonard, Kathy Letto, JumpandShoot, Oz, Secular Rarity, Chianti and Fava Beans, Philip Leitch, Kaitlyn Beyond, Toast, Richard Gilliver, and Sunset Sarge. All of you are awesome. I appreciate your patronage. If you like what I do, consider becoming a patron for as low as $1 a month. And in just 3 weeks, you are going to see a new setup because I am moving and I am freaking out, man.
It's going to be great.
The week after I move, I will be in Austin, Texas. So I'm going to get to meet Hannah Vaughn, Holy Kool-Aid, hopefully Eric and V and Jenna and hopefully Arden. Like there are so many people I want to meet. And I really, really, really want to go inside the ACA. Like I'm just going to break into the ACA and take pictures. No, I'm not actually going to do that.
No, you will be invited to it, I'm sure. I just remembered that you bursted a blood vessel in your eye.
Yeah. Trigger warning. It's always, wait, hang on.
It's the other one.
Wait,
ow.
I can't. There we go.
Okay, no more. No, you have looked fine this whole time, and like you just kind of did like a ooh, ooh with your eyes, and I was like, oh shit, I just remembered.
I've been trying to hide it. That's why I've been purposefully trying to stand at an angle to
but then you're doing this with your eyes, and then you can see it. No, it
Wait,
looks like it's art.
This way?
Yeah, because then your pupil's hiding it.
Oh man. Okay, next time.
Sorry for calling you wow, but Ethan.
No, you're fine. Now I know.
No, it's already looking better.
Oh, I can't. My keyboard doesn't matter. Anyways,
I love doing this.
Me too, Hannah. This is such a It is so good for my mental health. And yes, Philip, let's get the YFNA community to storm the ACA building.
The winner takes it all. Thanks for coming.
Yeah. Thank you, everyone. Have a safe and wonderful week. And good night. Wait, I totally forgot something. So this
Get
Tuesday
naked.
on Perspective, for those who don't know, I have a weekly call-in show where we tackle paranormal and supernatural claims, belief in aliens. Well, this Tuesday, guess who's going to be on, Hannah?
Benedict Cumberbatch,
Oh, that would be so cool. Your lovely partner, Holy Kool-Aid.
who kind of looks like Benedict Cumberbatch a little bit.
Oh, if he had the voice, man, Benedict's voice, dude.
Mhm.
Yeah, it's pretty nice.
Oh, thank you to our screener, Secular Rarity. Now we can leave.
Yes, thank you. And then also Sunday, I host a show with Jenna Belk on mental health. This Sunday, I forgot what we're tackling, but it will be something mental health related. Good night, everyone.
Bye.
Oh, and I